Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and today we're going to be doing over 400 miles of mixed driving with 3 adults here in the Tacoma TRD Pro. And I'm starting off appropriately and organically right in my 2-car garage. It's a standard 19-foot garage here in a condo complex, and so you can see how opting for something more like the Tacoma is going to be an easier fit than something like a Tundra TRD Pro, because I've got still room on this side. I was able to reach up, grab some water bottles off the side shelf there, able to pull into the garage fairly easily. Still got, maybe 3/4 of a foot back here. I wouldn't quite be able to open the tailgate, but then on the other side, still have room for the Daily Motor test fleet of motorcycles. I can still open up the door here. You can see I put some water bottles in the back, got some gear. These Ergo Motion seats are going to be a point of conversation throughout the drive. And then coming on up to the front, still got just barely enough room to squeeze in to our little access door there. So I think if I were a little bit closer to the rear door, it'd be easier to get in and out of that door there. But maybe motorcycles over here, truck over there would make that even easier, but something that would not be quite easily done with a Tundra. So let's hop in and head out. We're going to be picking up my parents and heading out for ride / drive / adventure day here in sunny Southern California. Sliding in, firing up for the first time. And because it's a hybrid, it sort of brings itself to life. You don't have that sensation of a starter. Shed a little light on the subject in here. Got our automatic climate control already running. Now, I will point out this is a pre-production truck, so there perhaps some of the weirdnesses I've experienced so far are attributed to that. But that being said, my Pixel 8 Pro doesn't want to regularly automatically connect to the media system here, so let me know if that's something you've experienced in a newer Toyota vehicle as well. You can see right there, Android Auto error. And the wireless device charger doesn't consistently charge my device. I'll put it on now, and you'll see that it'll pop up and start charging, and then throughout our drive, it'll keep popping up and saying charging, and not actually giving us significant juice. Now, the 360-degree camera makes it much easier to pull in the Tacoma TRD Pro compared to previous models because it's much higher resolution. If I put the car into reverse here, first of all, you hear the parking beeper letting me know I'm up near the front of the garage. We can see that's my rear view, and if I were to click this, I could see my front view as well. That's showing me how close I am to the wall. I could also see the side views, how much room I have. So yes, these are technically for off-roading, most of the cameras, but useful for daily driving too. And as I make my way out, parking brake releases, and if any traffic were coming either way through my complex, it would beep at me and warn me that rear cross traffic alert. And the height fits in just fine. No antennas on top to snip or anything. I think we had the Canyon AT4X AEV, and the top antenna actually hit on my garage. So that was unfortunate. We do have home link. I don't have it paired up with my garage here, but we could do that. Getting over the speed bumps. TRD suspension, handling that well. And off we go. So far with my few days with the truck, I've been pretty happy with it. It's a nice truck to daily drive. It's got its quirks, and we're going to talk about those throughout the drive, but daily driving this truck is much easier than you might expect it to be. Now, because Android Auto has not automatically connected, let's give the built-in navigation a try. So I can say, hey Toyota. Navigate to the Pacific Edge Hotel.
I found Pacific Edge Hotel. Would you like to go now?
Yes.
Calculating route to Pacific Edge Hotel.
So it's actually using live traffic readouts just as Google Maps would to tell me the best way to go here. And then not only do I have the navigation up on the center screen, but I also have some navigation over on my little screen on the gauge cluster. That's nice there. Which I should point out, if you want to see a dedicated breakdown on the infotainment and gauge cluster screens, check the link below for our infotainment review. We've also got a dedicated breakdown on the 10-speaker JBL sound system. Okay, I like how it's given me the 2 different lanes that I can be in as well. It's nice detailed guidance there. Now, I knew that the TRD Pro would be capable off-road, and we are going to be doing a little bit of off-roading today and kind of show off those capabilities. But what's actually surprised me more is how livable the TRD Pro is here in day-to-day driving. This truck is remarkably quiet at speed. We'll get a little bit of, actually we'll get a lot of highway experience here today. And I'll show you some of that, how quiet it is. We've got dual pane glass up front. I wonder if dual pane glass in the rear too. No, but dual pane glass up front, and it's just a generally quiet truck to be in, both from an engine noise standpoint and from a wind noise standpoint. And you don't even hear the all-terrain tires whirring that much. So really impressed with that. What I'm not super impressed with is the rear seat area. We're going to talk about that here in a moment. But the general packaging and places to put things is really good. I've got door pockets up here. I've got door pockets down there. I've got storage up here for maybe 2 phones and some gear. I've got a transponder for the toll roads up front, and my garage door opener, 2 cup holders. My father yesterday was using the space up in front of the passenger area for his wallet and sunglasses, so that's nice to have. I've got sunglasses holder up here as well. So far, the interior seems pretty smartly laid out. The other reason I'm doing this video with my father is because he is a 3rd-gen Tacoma owner. He's got a TRD off-road with a 6-foot bed, and so he was really interested in this truck and kind of thinking if he should upgrade or some of the pros and cons. So this will be a great test for that. I'm going to drive down about another, 20 minutes or so, pick them up, and we're going to head to the mountains and then to the desert. Here we are at highway speeds. You can hear, even with some slight uphill, doing pretty well in the sound department. And you can see the active lane keeping working as well, taking us nicely through that corner without any steering input. We've got our adaptive cruise control set. Putzing along nicely. Coming up on this truck, it's going to slow itself down. Honestly, it waited long enough. That was one of my pet peeves with Toyota's adaptive cruise control for a long time, is it would slow down way too early. Then you wouldn't even notice and you'd be stuck behind a lot of cars. But this one seems to be more aggressive. Back over. I mean, here we are, 70 miles per hour, get up to. You can hear that exhaust a little bit. But yeah, it really doesn't have to work the way the previous motor did. Alright, we've been in the saddle for a few hours now, and we're coming up here toward Big Bear Lake, here in the mountains. Definitely enjoying the turbocharged motor and that hybrid assistance coming up the hill, because even though our fuel economy hasn't been fantastic, obviously we're driving up a mountain, we're at 11.6 since we were at the base, it's the fact that between the turbo and the electric motor can really fill in that torque and make it so it's not like the old Tacoma where it's ringing out and really having to rev and make a lot of noise. Instead, right here, if I need to accelerate, you can hear it's just a nice smooth progression of power. It really gets up and going. See some beautiful views, obviously. Some snow up here on the mountains. Seat comfort has been pretty good. I do think the seat bottoms are a little bit firm. I don't know if they're still kind of finalizing the seat tuning for these Ergo Motion seats. And then you can see my dad sitting up here in the passenger seat. His knees are pressed right up about onto the glove box there. And in the back, my mother's knees are kind of right up to the back of the seat there. So he has to be forward enough so that she has enough foot room and leg room to be comfortable on the trip. Something to consider. Would you say you're uncomfortable yet, Dad? Or is it just kind of tight?
Just tight.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, we've been in the truck here now for a few hours, and it's not like you can't do it. It's not like he's uncomfortable, but he's a bit limited in terms of where and how he can sit in order for us all to be comfortable. But like I was saying earlier at the beginning, we do have a good amount of space for things. However, he pointed out, like I said, he's a 3rd-generation Tacoma owner. His cup holders are further down and lower. This whole center console area is a bit lower in his truck. So, see, for example, I don't have a huge water bottle, but it's kind of interrupting where I can rest my arm right here. So I have to kind of have my arm up here in order to have my tall water bottle. This shifter, I know they still had to have a big physical shifter for it to feel traditional, but it does take up a good amount of space. But at least we can put our phones and kind of other objects around this area. So it's not terrible. And we do have 3 different bottle holders in the door. So actually I really could lower this down and put it into the door. It's just a little bit of a tight door holder down there. As I said earlier, he's utilizing that space up there, and you pointed out it's also grippy, so things haven't been rattling or sliding around as we've been taking these corners. What else? Climate control's been good. We've had it running on auto. Obviously, he can have his own temperature back there. And we've got air vents in the back, cooling off rear passenger also. What else? Steering is nice and light. I haven't been fatigued driving it around. Any other thoughts from your side?
Nope. It feels very quiet, isolated.
Yeah, we've all noticed the isolation running on the highway, as I showed you a little bit earlier. Even the concrete sections of highway, I've really been impressed that we're not getting that whirring noise from these all-terrain tires. Pretty impressed.
Wind noise is down.
Yep, not really any wind noise, not hearing that engine singing out. The exhaust is noticeable, but it's not droney, so I like that. Also, I should point out we've had Android Auto running, and you can see how nicely, especially if I bring it full size here, how big this screen and map is. It's very easy for me to glance over and see what sort of quarters I have coming up. However, we have noticed that there hasn't been a way to see our elevation. So my dad was like, he was thinking, it definitely should have a way to show the elevation, but even if I clear out our nav and I get the compass coming back up on the digital gauge cluster, there's no elevation readout. We haven't found anything in the center. So I guess Toyota's just banking on you using your phone or something to see how high up you are. A little bit of an omission in my eyes for an adventure style truck like this. So we're going to be taking a little bit of a stop here soon and then getting down into the desert. Totally different sort of environment here. That's the beauty of Southern California, is how quickly you can get from snowy mountains right here to dry desert. All right, we did Mountain Town and now we're doing desert exploring out here in Johnson Valley. Just a quick 45-minute drive outside of Big Bear, and all of a sudden we're out in the rocky off-road, I'm not going to say off-road mecca, but a big off-road area here. Plenty of rock climbing that we could be doing up in those hills there, but most importantly, if you're just coming out and doing some casual or even more than casual sightseeing and exploring with some family members, it's nice to be able to get out and do it so easily in this truck. I mean, we had some steeper crawl sections that I had the cameras up for, and even there, I think four-wheel drive was hardly necessary. We get a lot of grip with these tires, and having the hybrid powertrain helps fill in those lower power gaps really nicely. The ride is a little on the stiffer side. It does feel like we could be going very fast, and Fox shocks would be absorbing the bumps at higher speeds, but compared to something like the GX, it's not as plush in here. We had the opportunity to have the GX and the Tacoma TRD off-road in some off-road areas south of here, and they both did well, but the GX was remarkable at just how soft and supple the ride was. This one, you can kind of hear from everything. We're getting jostled around, but there's it's kind of a smooth firmness, if you will. So nothing is really jarring, but it is getting rocked around. And of course, with this model, they're not electronically adaptable and adjustable shocks in here. So if I wanted to change the damping, I'd have to go out to all the corners and adjust them manually. So a little bit of a downside, especially when you're in here with family members and you just kind of want to be getting from one place to another. But let's take this little bit of a climb right here, and I'll bring up the camera. We're actually still in two-wheel drive, and we'll just see if we can make it on up. Right here, seeing it come up. Yeah, I mean, this is barely anything. Very grippy sand, and it's like nothing for this truck. And that's kind of where we've come with modern off-road, full off-road spec trucks like these TRD Pro models, is they're going to so greatly exceed the abilities for just kind of your everyday sort of driving that you really don't need to be purchasing one of these unless you really plan on taking it to the extreme of off-roading. I know that everything we've done today could have been easily done in a TRD off-road as well, or probably even a TRD Sport, especially if you swap out tires or something. The difference is going to be this one's going to have a smoother ride, and then we do have these isomotion seats that we've kind of bounced back and forth with, and have come to the consensus that it does seem to be keeping our heads a little bit more stable and just kind of keeping us a little bit more comfortable and in line. But it isn't a crazy dramatic difference between kind of on and off and being in the back seat. So I hope that Toyota will start offering these as an option in the future for the TRD off-road or the TRD Pro model, because the sacrifices you have to make with space in the back seat are not going to be worth it for everybody. So we have found ourselves a dry lake bed, nature's drag strip, and let's test out this little 4-cylinder a bit. I'm just going to leave it two-wheel drive and see if we get any spinach. I think it spun a little bit there, but we're off. That's fun. The motor really is docile. I mean, you really don't notice too much in terms of noise. Oh, look at all the dust. Coming into the end of the day here in the Tacoma TRD Pro, I gotta say, for such a capable vehicle, refinement is the word that has stuck out to me the most. I mean, now we're doing this slow speed section where we're letting some kids cross in front of us, and getting up and going and being stop start, whether it was traffic earlier or on the highway or doing the off-roading. I really think Toyota has nailed the throttle tuning in here and the general refinement, and it's aside from a few of these weird quirks like the limited room with these ergo motion seats, or some other little things like kind of being limited in what you can have on the different screens and what's coming up, and a lot of these things that can be fixed after the first year, whether it's over-the-air updates or making these seats optional. A lot of little sort of nitpicky things, but the best thing for me is that they did all the core elements of this truck right. So we've been able to have a good time over the last good amount of distance. We've averaged 19.6 miles per gallon, but a lot of that was into a really fierce headwind coming down back here toward the coast. So I'm going to be running a full highway fuel economy test. Check the link below if you want to see that. We'll get some more detailed figures at 70 miles per hour. And I'm going to wrap up a few more of my thoughts tomorrow morning once we get kind of rested, and I'll take the truck back out and wrap up some thoughts on the TRD Pro. Coming into this last morning here with the Tacoma TRD Pro, wrapping up our thoughts after what I realized was a really long day in the saddle for me yesterday, because we left at about 9:30 in the morning. I headed out, and then I did all the driving, and then also came back and did the highway fuel economy test, where admittedly the truck underperformed a little bit, but not terrible, about 19-20 miles per gallon or so, but I think some people will be expecting more from the hybrid powertrain. But either way, I think there's a good chance I've spent more seat time in this truck than anybody outside of Toyota at this point, at least here on, April 26th of 2024. I'm sure there are a lot of people getting their TRD Pros right now. There might be some owners who have driven it more, but in terms of media, I think I've spent nearly as much time in this as anybody else. And I like it. I really, really do. It's, as I've kind of said throughout the video, there are quirks. There are things that Toyota can improve upon, including making these isometric seats optional, maybe tweaking the interior layouts a little bit just to optimize comfort, and the usability is pretty good. Like I said, we did have a situation yesterday. We were off-roading, my water bottle's sitting here in the center, and we hit a big bump. My elbow came down and crashed into it. That was unfortunate. And I'd like to see them do more with the technology in this truck. We've got a great high-definition screen. We've got this big digital gauge cluster in front of us, but yet we're fairly limited in what we're able to do with it. I understand that Toyota wanted to go with a degree of simplicity for straightforward ease of use. And for a lot of people, I get that. It's going to make the truck ownership experience more straightforward and overall more enjoyable. But for me, I want to geek out on my truck a little bit. If I just spent $65,000 on this, I want to see all the different specs and information about elevation and what my hybrid powertrain is doing. And I mean, even like you get in some of the new BMWs and they show you how much horsepower and torque you're using. It's gimmicky, but a lot of times people appreciate those gimmicks. And when you're spending this type of money on a vehicle that's got this sort of technology in it, let us enjoy the gimmicks. I'm not going to comment too much on pricing. I know that there's been a lot circling around the internet right now with how much cheaper you can get yourself into a Ford Raptor or a ZR2 from Chevy or something like that. But Toyota is charging what, one, they think they can get for this truck. They know better than you. I know you sitting on the internet thinking, oh, Toyota doesn't know what they're talking about. They're not going to be able to sell these. They're going to sell slow. Toyota, you don't think Toyota, one of the world's largest automotive companies, doesn't have a whole team of analysts that know better than you, Mr. Keyboard Warrior, about how much they can charge for this truck and where they think it's going to sell and how many units they think they're going to sell? You don't know what they have in store in terms of well, maybe they only want to sell so many TRD Pros because they expect more people to buy TRD off-roads, and maybe their margins are different on those ones. There's a lot going on that I can't just sit here and say, nah, they're charging too much money. I'm assuming that between the development costs, the hardware here in this truck, and stepping up from a previous Tacoma, $65,000 must be a price point that they can make money, and also they think they can sell some of these. But you got to remember, the Toyota Tacoma is one of the highest resale value vehicles on the market. And so there's a strong following for these, and there are absolutely going to be people to go out and shell out extra money to get this product over something from one of the competitors. And I got to admit, I would trust this truck more than a Ford Ranger Raptor. I really would. I owned a Ford Maverick. It let me down on a cross-country road trip. I don't trust Ford's quality control or engineering as much as I do Toyota's. So I would be willing to pay a premium for it. Same with General Motors. General Motors has a track record of cutting corners if they know that it'll cost them less money in the long run to suffer lawsuits or warranty claims or buybacks or anything like that than to build the trucks right. So again, I'm going to trust Toyota more with that than one of the domestic brands. The other thing is a TRD Pro, despite however you want to justify it, is an emotional purchase. It's a luxury purchase. It's not a luxurious car, but it is a luxury. It's not like we're talking about a base Tacoma here, or even an SR5 where you might be needing it for your day-to-day job, or you might be needing to utilize that bed for your weekend activities and moving your family around and everything. If you're buying this one with the silly seats and with the highly upgraded shocks and tires and everything, you're doing it for fun, and you're doing it for enjoyment, maybe vanity. So this isn't something like the Toyota Prius where I'm going to come in and harp on pricing and tell you, oh, I mean, they're charging too much for what you're getting, because something like a Prius, you need to buy a car for day-to-day transportation. You need to buy a car that gets good fuel economy. You need to have something reliable and efficient and good for moving you and your family around. That's not what a TRD Pro Tacoma is about. A TRD Pro Tacoma is about having fun. And therefore, the amount of money that you should pay for something that's just made for having fun, it's ambiguous. It's going to be different for every person. So I don't think it's as fair or accurate to compare apples to apples pricing for something like this as opposed to something like a $30,000 more economy type vehicle. And I had a similar stance when it came to something like the Kia EV9. Yeah, that vehicle is way too expensive for a common sense sort of purchase for a family. But it's an electric family hauler that was fully loaded. So again, you're not buying something like that necessarily for practicality. You're buying it because you want to get yourself something nice. And that's the same thing with the TRD Pro Tacoma here. You want it because you want something cool and you want something nice. And that's only up to you to decide if this price is right. Before we hop out and take one good final look at this truck, we need to put it on the Daily Motor leaderboard. All right, current leaders are still Kia EV9, Hyundai Ioniq 6, and Toyota Prius. Now, I personally would not get the TRD Pro, but I do like the Tacoma in general. I would give myself something probably like a TRD Sport, and then I would put my preferred tires and suspension on it, kind of build the truck up that way. I'd take the air dam off and sort of, I'd get the 6-foot bed, the full crew cab. That would be a little more my cup of tea. But looking at the list here, I think I know where it's going to go. I think we're going right into third place behind the Hyundai Ioniq 6 SE rear-wheel drive, but ahead of the Toyota Prius Limited. Number 3 vehicle, I should say, the Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. This thing's just a lot of fun. It's fun, and I really respect and appreciate how much Toyota got right despite its quirks. Everything that all the qualms I have with this vehicle can be improved upon by little year-over-year tweaks, and I like driving around a hybrid. I like getting a little bit better fuel economy than you would in a truck like this typically. I like the tech. Don't really like the interior packaging, but hey, there's different trims for that. Let's hop out and take another look. It's funny, I passed a 3rd generation TRD Pro the other morning, and it looked so understyled compared to this. They really went crazy with the styling, but I think overall people tend to like it. And for being one of the highest attention vehicles on the internet, I think Toyota did a pretty darn good job. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Tacoma, check the link below. We've got a whole bunch of videos. We've got the JBL sound test, we've got the members only sound test, fuel economy test, and infotainment breakdown, and a little bit of coverage on the TRD off-road as well. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.